Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it has been so long since I've seen you. Feels like, gosh, it just feels like forever. But it hasn't. It's only just been since Christmas. Many people have asked. I'm very healthy, happy to be back. COVID was bad, but one of those things. Welcome to the Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. We're a welcoming community for seekers of all types in White Mar, and I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time, or maybe it's your first couple of times. I'll be circulating after the service right out here during coffee hour. Please come by and say hello. I'd love to talk with you. And thank you to all of our people who are joining us online. I know there's a lot of you out there. We love having you as part of our extended community. It's just, hello, I wish we could have, can we send a camera to them? Is that possible? One from the back? No? Can we send one to the back? Oh, no, the other one. All the way from the back. Is there one? Oh, no, never mind. Everyone's waving. How about that? Okay. Oh yeah, there we are. Okay, look at that camera back there. Hey, everybody online. We love that you're with us. I know. I'll leave that where it is. We have a couple of announcements. One, we have an auction that's coming up on May 11th. I know that sounds like it's kind of far away, but it's not. It's going to be here very quickly, and what we're doing right now is we're sort of gathering donations. So, for example, I've donated a vegan dinner at my house for 4. I hope you'll bid on it. $500, $600, $700 a plate. That'd be awesome. But also, there's going to be a silent auction portion, but then there's going to be a larger sort of, what you would normally think of as an auction. So if you have something like a vacation home or something like that where you'd like to donate a week, we're really trying to sort of add this as part of our fundraising for the church. Karen Delmonico has a table. It's right outside there's, where the TV screen is. She'll be sitting there after the service. You can go and talk with her about how to help with the auction if you have something you'd like to donate. Also, our stewardship team did such a great job this year in early September that we have this opportunity that I've never had before in my life. So it's kind of exciting. We actually already have met the pledge drive, which is yay. So we were hanging out in my office just talking like, well, what do we do? And what we decided to do was hold something called a vision drive, which I don't know what that means yet, because I've never done it. Who's done it? I don't know anybody who's done it. So what we're going to do, though, is, as you know, I sort of preach in sermon series. They're about 4 sermons long, and we're going to hold a kind of like a gathering after the final one of each series, so that we can talk about like what that series means for the vision and the future of the church. So right now we're thinking about what are the dimensions of risk? Like, how might this church take a risk on its future and think about it in a positive way? Like, what are the places we want to extend ourselves? So the very first one is going to be February 11th, and we're going to break up into sort of smaller tables after the service. And if you don't have to sign up, you can just come. But if you sign up, you will get some emails with some materials that are based on the sermons to sort of help you think about what that might look like, what it might be like to sort of take the church into a new place. Yeah. Dana Green's memorial service is going to be held on February 17th and 18th. So on Saturday there's an evening portion of it, and then Sunday after church we'll have the other memorial service. And then finally, if you've picked up your order of service and you've studied closely, you will see that we're going to try something a little bit new, because we had a request to include some of the children, not the children, some of the youth in the sort of rituals of the service. So what we're doing is we're moving the meditation and the prayer up a little bit. So the candle lighting is going to be moved up in the service, and we're going to sort of separate the lighting of the candles from the offertory, so that time can really just be focused on a contemplative practice for you as part of the service. So what that means is that the offertory is going to happen right now. So we're going to collect the offertory during the announcements and during the introit, which is the first part of the service. We'll put a basket at the back for people who come in late, but most people are really here by this time. So we're just going to try that out. So just to see if we're able to give you a little more value in terms of that meditation part of the service, and to incorporate the youth in the weekly lighting of the candles. So if the ushers will come forward, we'll start with the offertory, and we'll begin with our introit. Thank you for coming today.
Our chalice lighting is the work of the congregation by Crystal Hogan. We light this chalice to honor our work, to celebrate our community, and to bring hope and determination to our mission in the wider world.
Please join in singing our first hymn. It is number 1028, which means it's in the teal hymnal. Number 28 in the teal hymnal.
Stand as you're willing and able, if you're so in the mood to on this chilly morning. From the light of days remembered, where's a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger finds a passion, finds to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of a living rings a song both brave and free, rallying pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision rings a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion beat to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Please join me in the words of our covenant, which are found in your order of service. Love is the teaching of this church. The quest of truth is its daily task, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in community, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. This is our covenant with each and with all.
You may be seated. Our meditative hymn today is number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. This will be followed by the candles, so when we finish, we'll start to play some music, and you're welcome to come forward and light a candle.
Teal hymnal first. despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Now we'd like to break this up into a round, as we often do. Holly's here to work on the upper voices, which will start us off first. And then the lower voices, I'll swing around in second. So she's going to go, come, come, whoever you are. And then the lower voices, come, come. That's how fast we jump in. Ready? Holly starts us off. And then. Ready, and? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Thank you very much.
Please come forward as you feel ready and willing. Share something that is a joy or heaviness. I invite you now to continue our period of meditation and prayer, just entering into the silence, taking a moment to ground yourself. Maybe you feel the floor beneath your feet, or the chair supporting you. In touch with your breath as it's moving in and out, bringing you into this intimate space of this moment. Nowhere else. Here, in this congregation, maybe you feel the warmth of the room, the subtle shifting, all of it present. Opening us to that great interwovenness. Nothing is out of place. So this is an interactive service today, so hopefully everyone got a little square piece of paper, or not, I guess it's not square, it's a rectangle. Okay, great. Does anybody not have one of these? Okay. Can the usher, and the choir doesn't have any. Oh, these people need it the most. No, you guys are great. Let's hand out some of these to folks who need them. And you'll need a little piece of paper to write on, a little something to write with. If you don't have that, we've got some pens as well. But while those are being handed out, I'll just sort of start to set us up for this activity. And it begins with a passage from the Bhagavad Gita, right? The Bhagavad Gita is one of the great spiritual texts of Hinduism. And what's really happening in this text is it's essentially a conversation that's taking place between a warrior named Arjuna and his charioteer, who's actually the god Krishna, which, how handy to have your charioteer also be a god. And the plot's a familiar one if you've ever dealt with any sort of mythic tales. It revolves around a battle over who's the rightful heir to a kingdom. And Arjuna, the protagonist of the story, is looking out over the battlefield because they're just about to get started, right? And the two warring armies are preparing themselves, and Arjuna awakes to the significance of the task that he's about to take on. And because he's looking out and he sees his nemesis, right? The prince who has usurped the throne, who is also his cousin. And in the ranks of the enemies, he sees so many members of his family and his friends and his teachers who've chosen that side of the conflict. And Arjuna is gripped with despair. If he does not go into battle, then he denies his brother, who is the rightful heir to the throne. And he doesn't do his duty. But if he does go into battle, it means killing his kin, right? His family, and then he says, if you have to kill your family, what good is a kingdom? And he sees these fathers and husbands and grandfathers and children, and he just sits down in his chariot, refusing to go any further, refusing to do anything. And Krishna looks at him and he says, well, that's not really a choice, right? Non-action is still an action, but it's the worst kind of action. It's a self-denial. It's the denying purpose and calling. And as with all sort of great spiritual texts, there are multiple ways of reading the Gita. There's multiple levels of meaning and interpretation. But for the purpose of this sermon, we're going to talk about this one stream of thought that is running through the epic, and that's concerned with the idea of duty, right? Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, they use the word dharma, which, for better or worse, is often just translated as duty, but it's really more than that. It's like your calling. If you have dharma, it's the great work of your life. And so the great lesson of the Bhagavad Gita is in recognizing, I know, get ready, Americans, that you're not really free to choose in this world. That you have something in you that is propelling you forward, that is calling you forward. And if you have dharma, there is a great work that you've been called to. So now we're at the first part of our interactivity, right? Everybody's got paper? Everybody's got something to write with? Great. So we're going to explore this idea of dharma, of calling, but here's what we're going to do first. I want you to imagine having a superpower. Now, we've all fantasized about having superpowers. Some of them we're proud of. Some of them maybe not so proud of, right? But we've all fantasized about having them. Maybe we talk to animals. Maybe we compel the Supreme Court to do what we want. Maybe you bring more kindness into the world. But we've all had a recurring fantasy. I'll get us started. Like mine is that I'm able to walk into a library and by osmosis, I absorb all of the books and I'm able to categorize them so I don't get lost, and I never forget what I read. As superhero powers go, it's pretty nerdy, but I don't know why I fantasize about that, but that's the one I have. So just for a minute, close your eyes and just get in touch with the superpower that you fantasize about. There's something that recurs to you over and over again that's like, you know, this is the fantasy I have. And once you know what that superpower is, I'd like you to take a minute to draw it on the piece of paper that you were given this morning. Now, it doesn't have to be a work of art, but add in some details that show how your superpower is working. You can wear a cape. You don't have to wear a cape. My superpower does not require me to wear a cape. It just has me walking through books like this. So just draw yourself as a superhero exercising this particular superpower, and I'll bring us back with the bell. I'll give you 1 minute to do it. If you're watching from home, please draw your superhero too. Send me a photo, because I want to see what this superhero is. I don't know why you're not drawing something, Mark. Come on. Oh, it's in there. It's in there. Good. Okay. Give you another 20 seconds. Doesn't have to be amazing. So, if you've drawn something, it doesn't have to be totally complete yet, but you can turn to your neighbor, groups of 2 or 3, and just share briefly what your superpower is with them. If you have a name, fantastic. If you don't have a name, I don't have a name for mine. I don't even know what mine would be called yet. But just be brief, because we're going to move on to the next part of the sermon in just a second. But groups of 2 or 3, why don't you tell them what your superpower is? No super. You can just share it with them. Be like, this is my superpower. Give you 20 more seconds to wrap it up. You guys you swapped your superpowers? It's a good one. Oh. This is the difference between a millennial and an X, right? They grew up with chips. All right. So let's slide back into the Bhagavad Gita just for a second. Let's slide back in. So we're with Arjuna, we're with Krishna, we're in the chariot, and we're looking out over the battlefield. And what we as readers know, right, is that the battlefield really is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. So we can put down the sort of literal ethics about going into war and killing people, and we see it for what Krishna is trying to tell us through his conversation with Arjuna, and that is that our lives are a great battle. This metaphorical battlefield is happening inside of us, right? And our lives, there is this fight that we have to go through, and we have to decide if we will commit to our purpose, the great work that we have been called to in life, or not. And it's like there's a war that's going on inside of each of us, and we don't know what to do, because if we really do commit to following the great work of our life, then it also means killing off some of those ideas that we kind of like, but they don't actually fit into the purpose of our lives. And they might entertain us, we might be really good at them, they might be so dear to us that they're practically our children, but ultimately, if we do not kill them off, they will bog our lives down and leave us without resolution, clarity, satisfaction, fulfillment. And Arjuna does not want to make a choice. He wants it all. But there's no way to have it all, so he just decides not to do anything. He just sits down. But this means he doesn't get anything, right? And again, my own life, some of you know this. When I was starting out as a minister in Queens, I'd actually moved to the city because I was not sure if I wanted to be an artist or a minister. And so I had a church that was part-time, so I was doing both, right? And I had half my time I was in my studio, half the time I was working for this church. And what happened is the church started to grow, and it needed more attention. And my artwork started showing up in blogs and getting more attention. People were coming to shows. So that needed more attention. And I had to make a choice because I could not do both professionally. Was I going to be an artist professionally, or was I going to be a minister professionally? And having to make a choice about what we are called to do really does not fit into this narrative that we often are told that we can do anything, that we can have it all. And I think much of this sort of perspective is a little bit culturally bound in the United States, that historically we've been running away from this predetermined, your father did this, so now you do this, or your mother did, And so we sort of had this reactive stance of like, you can do anything here. But what Krishna is trying to say is that ultimately doesn't really work. You really have to commit and decide to do something. And if you're true to yourself, honestly, you don't have a real choice, right? There is something in you that is fulfilling. And if you want to be realized as a human being, then this is where your duty unfolds. Now, Arjuna is the metaphor for the warrior who is living in each of us, who must decide to fight for our dharma, for the great works of our lives. And understanding what you are called to is really about understanding the sacredness of who you are. Because we exist also within a larger field of dharma. It means that for me, for this world to be in a good place, I have to live into my place, but also Catherine has to live into hers, and Will has to live into his. And it is important for all of us to be living into who we are supposed to be. Otherwise, we end up with a lot of anxiety in our world. We end up with a world that is non-functioning because people are not living into what they are called to be. So when Arjuna collapses in his chariot because he's faced with a choice he does not want to make, Krishna is not very sympathetic, right? And he does this out of compassion, because when a person is not following what they're supposed to be doing, we know what happens. They flounder, they flail, they vacillate, they complain, they suffer. And we see this happening all around us. People who are avoiding what they have been called to do with their lives, what they've been chosen, the sacred role they've been chosen for, and there's a substitution that happens. And this is where we see greed and not caring happening in the world. Because there's a way that we're just trying to avoid what it is that we've been called to. And Krishna is harsh, but he's doing it out of compassion because he wants us to have a happy, healthy life. To know that we are interwoven and that what I do with my life impacts what happens in your life, right? So to get to our second activity, I want you to just, again, close your eyes, and you're going to have a conversation with your superhero, who is actually you, right? Some dimension of you, some part of you. It's not all of you, but it's representative of your calling. It may not be the fullness of your calling, but it's an avatar. And again, I'll put myself out there. When I was writing this, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with my superhero. And this is what my superhero said. Ian, I don't love it when you play that match game on your phone. You spend way too much time matching little pictures and collecting imaginary gems and watching stupid ads to get more lightning bolts so you can match more pictures. You've spent hours on this game, and I understand that you're stressed and struggling with your stress, but I'm not sure this really helps you, and it's not getting you any closer to what you love, which is helping other people feel excited about their lives. Being the best ever at this little match game is not your dharma. It's not what you're called to do with your life. So what would actually make you happy and excited to do what you love to do? So that's the conversation. When I sat down, that's what I heard. So let's just close your eyes. You've got this superhero. Just have a short conversation in your head. You don't have to speak it out loud. But just have a short conversation in your head, listening mostly to your superhero. What do they have to say about the mission that you both share? We'll just take a moment in silence and let that come. Listen to what your superhero is saying. Maybe they're really supportive. Mine was critical, but yours might be really supportive. So again, let's turn to our partner, the people in your group, and tell them about the conversation you just had with your superhero. You don't have to tell them all the details. Just tell them the stuff that feels comfortable telling. But tell them what it was like to listen to what is coming up from within. Can be anything. So go ahead. You're going to have a couple minutes to do this. give you just a few more minutes, just a minute. When we come back together, let's join us back together here. These superheroes had a lot to say to each other. The inner voices, yeah. All right, let's come back together. We'll let you finish that conversation a little later. So when I make a decision, and I use that word intentionally, when I make a decision to work with the congregation to help them, you in this case, I think about, what are we doing? Like, who do you want to be? Right? I often think about our time together as a sacred journey that we're taking, where we begin kind of in a valley, and we know that our destination is somewhere over there, over the mountains on the horizon, right? We are traveling together. It's like a pilgrimage, right? And we don't exactly know where we're going to end up. We just know that we're on a journey together. Right? And some aspects of this journey will probably include some physical acts of traveling, just like a pilgrimage, but most of it will be sort of the movement of the heart and spirit. And where your hearts and spirits are today, where mine is today, is not where our hearts and spirits will be when we get to the end of our journey together. We will be changed beings. Not every pilgrimage means that you sort of walk on your hands and knees to a great shrine or holy place. Some of these are actually really small, perhaps even imperceptible to others, but some are large, so large actually that we don't see what has happened to us until we come to the end of our life. But even those pilgrimages, right, are more than meditation and prayer. They require decisions and actions. There is a great pilgrimage, a ridgeline along which your body has been moving, following the call of your Dharma your entire life. It's brought you here. That is part of what has brought you here. And it marches along sometimes purposefully and with clarity and determination, and sometimes it's mired in confusion and doubt. And it may seem like there's no purpose to it all. Sometimes, myself included, I wonder if there's anything there. But the pilgrimage that you walk following your Dharma is a response to the urgency that each of us feels in our own way to the world around us. There is something about you that you feel differently than others, right? There is something that tears at your heart in a way that others don't see. Others walk right by it. They make no notice of it. You cannot walk by it. You walk towards it. That is part of this calling that you have. There's a particular urgency for the heartbreak of the world that makes you pay attention. And it's why we act on it. Right? It's where we volunteer. It's how we show up in the world. And it doesn't mean that we're all made to end hunger or clean an ocean, but there is, as Stephen Cope has said, a little corner of the world for each of us. There is a little corner for each of us to transform, to save. And I want to respect this moment, right? Because a lot of people get to this point and they stop because when they think about what is mine to transform in the world, it can feel overwhelming, right? And we run to an idea, and sometimes it feels so massive we just stop and we don't know where to begin. Or worse, there's a voice that sometimes comes to our minds and whispers that we're going to fail, or that we're too old, or we don't have the right skills, or we're just not up to the task. And the voice of no sits us back down on the couch or causes us to pull up another game of Candy Crush. And right? And it simply finds a way to tell us how silly that idea is. But here is where the second teaching from the Bhagavad Gita comes in, and it's even more important than the first. It's even more important than the first. People are attached to outcomes. People are attached to outcomes. Will I be successful? Will I fail? And this gets in the way of actually following what is in our hearts, right? People don't want to decide, make a decision, because they don't know if they will succeed, right? The root of the word decide means to cut off. In every decision, just as we are choosing something, we are choosing away from so many things. And the idea that we have a sacred purpose and that fulfillment means we got to follow it, it also means we have to decide not to do all of these other things, not to follow all of these other paths. And it's intimidating. It's really frightening. And we can be plagued by the questions of like, what if I'm wrong? What if I choose wrong? And there are people who sit for lifetimes at a crossroads because they don't want to choose. And just like Arjuna, they lie down in the road, refusing to move, and somehow the decision to squat, they think, will resolve the anxiety. But we all know that it doesn't. We've all been there in some form or another. And often we can see it in others better than we can see it in ourselves. But we know what it feels like. And Krishna looks at Arjuna and he says, don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. Success or failure is not the purpose of our dharma. It is better to fail at your own dharma, Krishna says, than to succeed at someone else's. Right? Better to fail at your own dharma than to succeed at someone else's. Your task is to bring as much life force as you can muster to the execution of your dharma. Now, had I never made the choice, right, had I tried to do art professionally and ministry professionally, I would not be here, right? I would not, but I also would not be a professional artist, because they both required all of my time. Does that mean that I think about what my life would be like if I had chosen to be a professional artist? Of course I do. Of course I do. But I made a decision, and it was a good one, and I love what I do most of the time. No, I love what I do, right? It's a gift. And I'm following my calling, and it doesn't matter whether I am the best known minister or whatever the best minister means, because that's not what the goal is. The goal for me is to help other people get excited about their lives. Are there people who do it better than me? Yes, of course there are people who do it better than me. I'm not worried about that, right? Are there people who do it worse? Yeah, there are people who do it worse too. But what I care about is doing it to the best of my ability. That's what's important. It's not the outcome. And this is true of communities as well. Congregations also have dharma. This congregation has dharma. Who is the Mount Vernon Unitarian Church meant to be? Are we a shelter for those who are living in the shadow of Christianity? right? And then we get to come in here and be like, oh, those bad Christian evangelicals, wah, 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 right? And this is a place where we get to complain about them? Or are we here cultivating a spiritual vision of our own, independent of them? Are we a sanctuary from the political masters who are plundering the earth and gerrymandering the districts, and we just bond over our disgust over their malfeasance? I mean, it feels pretty good sometimes. But that's not our dharma. I believe that we have a message of liberation to share with the world that requires us to leave the safety of this sanctuary and do the hard work of changing minds and hearts. That's a dharma. That's a calling. So now we've arrived at activity 3. Oh. He knows where this is going. We need to form some superhero councils, right? So these need to be at least 5 people. Now, so bigger than the group that you were just in, right? No larger than 8. So a group that is larger, and you're going to have to work a little fast, right? So the first step is to explain to the other people in your superhero council what your superpower is, right? 5 or 6 words, not like the whole thing. It's not sentences, words. If you have a name, you can share that too. And then when everybody has shared what their superpower is, you need to come up, the council needs to come up with a mission that includes all of the strengths and the abilities. This might mean that your mission, the one that you create, isn't the one that you are so personally passionate about, right? Glenn wants to, save all of the frogs. I don't know what your thing is, but instead he's going to compromise and save all of the llamas, because that's what the council will work. So it's something that allows you to live into your calling. Everyone must be included. Everyone's superpower must be included. But it's a group mission, a council mission. So form your councils, and I'll give you a few minutes to work together on finding a mission. Can I join your council? Okay. All right, let's bring the councils back together. Now, each of us individually and collectively as a council. How did you guys do? The Sopranos? The Soprano mission? Okay. We all have a great work that has been laid down before us by the divine. I really believe this, that there is something that is calling through us, that is moving through us, that is about fulfillment and safety and purpose, right? And we can choose to do it or we can choose not to do it. No one is forced to do it. No one is forced to do their calling. But there's often suffering that we experience when we choose a way, because really it's what makes us feel good about the world, right? The great work of our life does not mean money or fame or power. It means becoming who you are meant to be, including this congregation. It's not a most famous UU congregation. It's about becoming what this one is meant to be. Offer your Dharma as a gift. Let it witness to the sacred task that you have been chosen to perform. Prayer and meditation are part of this, but you must also act. You must also make a decision. You must walk the sacred journey of your calling, both as individuals and as a community. And please know that the decision that I made is that I will walk with you, that together we will walk each of these steps as we journey over that mountain. Amen. Thank you for coming today. Our final hymn is number 1017. It is in the teal hymnal, 1017, Building a New Way.
Please stand as you are willing and able and join us in singing. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need with it love that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are printed in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Source of life, God, my darling, inspire us to listen to the calling that is moving through us, that is coming up from within, inviting us into the great work of our life. And awaken us to the great interwovenness of existence, so that we know that what we do matters. It impacts all of life, everything, everywhere. There are people depending on us just as we depend on them. We are one great presence. And fill us with grace so that we might have the courage to look at the voice saying, no, don't do that. That's frightening. And say, but I am called. I am called to fulfill this so that the world might live with peace and freedom. Amen. So just before we head out the door, we've got a couple of thank yous. We've got Chris Clark, Doug Masterson, and Linda Walton over here on our AV bringing us out to the world. And everyone at home, send in your stuff. I want to see it. We've got Unyoung Lee filling in for us on the piano, and Erica Borchot. Yeah, Katie Casey was our worship associate today. Thank you to our ushers and our staff, really, for making this service. And of course, Mark and the choir, amazing. Thank you so much. Please join us for coffee.